Hey everybody, my name is Jason. Thanks for taking a moment to watch this video. I love books. I love reading, and I have what probably many would say is probably too many books. But I love books. I love print books, ebooks, audiobooks, graphic novels. I just love stories. I love fiction and nonfiction and self-help and leadership books and theology books, classics, new releases, obscure books. I love books. I have built quite a library from all these different formats and interests. And I was thinking about some video ideas the other day, and I was looking at my bookshelves, and I was like, I should get rid of some of these books, and maybe I could make a video about breaking up with books and choosing some of these items and saying why I'm breaking up with this book or why I'm breaking up with this author. And I thought, oh, that would definitely I think that would get some views. But as I started thinking more about it, I realized that I don't really want to be known for somebody who's just throwing more negativity onto the internet. I don't really want to be the person who's saying like, this book was terrible. And this came to me last night as I was walking my dog. I was listening to an audiobook that was shortlisted for one of the awards that I follow. And so I try to pay attention to the nominees, and so I can have a good sense of the field of the different books and say, yeah, I read that. I'm familiar with that. And I was listening to this book as I was walking my dog, and I just realized that I didn't care about how this story ended. The content of the book was really not what I was looking for, and I didn't really want to read it anymore. And so I made the decision to break up with that book. Fortunately, it was a library book and it was an audio book, and so there was no cost that I sunk into it. So it was a pretty easy breakup. But at the same time, my first thought was I should tell the world this is a terrible book. But that's not really fair to the author. And I started thinking about, like, as somebody who is trying to write their own book, would I want somebody to go online and tell the world that Jason Duman's book is terrible? No. If you don't like my book, then I would prefer it if you just kept that kind of to yourself and let other people like it if they like it. And so I was like, how can I be more charitable with these books, and should we break up with books, and how do we do it? And so I thought, let's talk about this. Let's make a video and share it, instead of these are the books I'm breaking up with and why. Instead, let's talk about why break up with a book generally, but then also how to break up with a book or an author. And so I have a few reasons why I break up with a book. One is you just don't like it. You just don't like the book. That's allowed. And unless it's a book that you're assigned to read for work or school, you don't have to finish every book that you buy. You don't have to finish every book that you start. And sometimes the best thing you can do is like, oh, I don't like this, and realize that early, and walk away. Another reason to break up with a book is you don't agree with the conclusions. It's good to have books from different perspectives, and especially when we're talking about, theory or theology or different perspectives on leadership and different things like that. Yeah, have a lot of perspectives. But if you know that you're never going to cite that resource, why hold on to it? It's okay to let it go if you just disagree with the conclusions. The third reason why we could break up with a book is you will never finish it, and you would rather spend your time on something you can complete. There are some books that are just daunting, and you come back at it again and again and again, because maybe you think, this is a book that I'm supposed to read. This is a book that everybody says is so great. And so you feel like you have to finish it. But you don't. And if you know you're never going to finish it, and you don't like it, then why are you staying in that relationship with that book? Move on. Move on. And the fourth reason is maybe the author has gone off the deep end. Maybe, they have become in some way or another problematic, which is a weighted word, I know. Maybe in church leadership, there are some authors who I read their books and then they veered down a path that was just troubling, theologically, relationally, a lot of things. Whereas, like, why am I holding on to this book? Maybe I don't want to be associated with that book anymore. And maybe you're like, isn't this just cancel culture? And as somebody who grew up in the evangelical youth group culture of the 90s, we kind of invented cancel culture. And so we should not complain. But I remember going to youth rallies and different events and being told, like, we need to destroy our non-Christian music. Fortunately, I wasn't really allowed to have a lot of non-Christian music in my house growing up. And so this wasn't a trap I fell into, but people would bring their CDs and break their CDs or burn the CDs or whatever, for Jesus. And I would be curious to know how many of those folks have gone back and repurchased that album, so giving the artist twice as much money. Or, they've added those songs and albums to their iTunes or their Spotify playlists. And so every time they listen to it, they're giving the artist some money. We tend to go overboard on the public canceling culture, this performative cancel culture where we kind of jump onto a bandwagon and we might say, like, want to get everybody else to be on the bandwagon with us. But you don't have to follow the mob. You don't have to go down that road. You don't have to make a big deal about breaking up with a book or an author that you think is problematic in some way. You can just say, this is not for me. Not every book is for everybody. Not every author is for everybody. And the sooner we can hold on to that truth and recognize, like, my time is limited, my ability to read all these books is finite. And so we need to end our relationship with these books sooner or later. And so, so it's okay to break up with these books. And so if you find a book is no longer serving your needs, you don't care about how the story ends, you just don't agree with the author and you don't want to be associated with the author even on your bookshelf, it's okay. Break up with them. Dump that book. But how do we do it? I think this is the real secret here, is how do we break up with a book or an author? And I just have three things. The first is quietly. I don't think it's fair to go online and tell everyone that you hated a book. I think maybe we have gone a little overboard on canceling authors, canceling books. And I know that by saying that we've gone too far on cancel culture, I run the risk of being canceled. And I'm not really worried about that. I just don't have that big of an audience to be canceled, which is fine with me. But there's already enough outrage and on the internet. I don't really think any of us need to add to it. There's so many people who are trying to yell about different shows that don't live up to their expectations, or they changed a character some way and, oh, this is terrible. How do you have that much energy? How do you have that much free time to hate something so publicly? I will never understand that. And so instead, if I don't finish a book, I just mark DNF and move on. And so I try to just do it quietly. I don't go and do a ton of 1-star reviews if I don't finish a book. No, that's not for me. Now, if I did read a book and I really didn't like it, I finished the whole thing, I might leave a review at that point. Just saying, well, no, I don't think they accomplished what they were setting out to accomplish. But if I broke up with a book or an author and I didn't finish the work, I'm not going to write a review. I'm just going to move on quietly. The second one is quickly. The sooner you know that you are not going to finish a book, the better. And so why are you hate reading a book? If you keep hate reading books, you might end up hating reading. And I don't think that's worth it. I would rather keep loving books and let go of the books that I know I'm not going to finish, that I just don't care about, break up with them quickly. The third one is questioningly. And I don't know if that's a word. But as I am setting aside a book that I know I'm not going to finish, I think it's good to ask why. Why am I not finishing this book? Why did I start it in the first place? What's making me turn away from it? Is there something that I don't understand that's being presented that's just a hurdle that's too big for me to try to get over for a lot of different reasons? That's okay. But also ask questions like, can you see why other people might resonate with that book? That is a helpful exercise to build, is to say, can I see why people might like this? The book that I didn't finish last night, that I said, I'm going to break up with this book. I understood as I was listening to it why a lot of people might like it. It was unique. It was told from a different perspective than anything I had ever really been presented. It had the potential to be a good story. There were just some things in it that I just didn't want to invest in. And that's okay. But I can see why people might really like that book. And this helps. If somebody says they love that book, I want to be able to have a conversation with them without thinking, wow, are you an idiot? No, but I want to be able to say, like, okay, you liked it. Tell me a little bit about why you liked it. Help me understand what you think is so good about that book. And that's coming from a place of curiosity. Even if I know that book is not for me, I'd like to know why you love it. Not every book is for everybody. And so instead of going online and flaming authors and books and just raging against the machine, just say, this one's not for me. On to the next one. And I think if we could develop that kind of a culture around breaking up with books and authors that doesn't require a performative canceling or mustering up some internet outrage, I think that's a better place to be. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on breaking up with books. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below on the video. If you're not subscribed to this channel, I would love to continue the conversation with you. I'd love for you to join this channel, subscribe. And, if this was interesting and you think somebody else might enjoy it, please share the video. That would be excellent. And my name is Jason, and I look forward to talking to you more about books and comedy and comics and all kinds of different things over the coming days. Y'all have a great day.